Presumed top 50 options putting up duds, and forgotten names exploding into fantasy box scores. The 2024 season rolls right along. Today we are continuing our moves to make series, 5 actions we need to look into making before Week 7's kickoff. But before we dig in, head over to 4for4.com and use promo code YouTube to get yourself 25% off any subscription plan. Add Christian Watson. Leg injuries have once again sidelined Christian Watson for spurts this season, but at least this most recent setback didn't have anything to do with his hamstrings. After missing most of Week 4 and all of Week 5 due to an ankle injury, the wide receiver returned in Week 6 to catch 3 of his 4 targets, including a huge 44-yard touchdown. At the podium on Monday, head coach Matt LaFleur remarked after Christian Watson's return, quote, "Just his ability to stretch the field definitely gives us an advantage. You better account for wherever he is because he's got legit home run speed," end quote. That goes a long way in exemplifying how the team sees him. In far more confirmation, we can simply look at his 16.6 average depth of target, the 7th highest among 104 qualifying receivers. Due to his return from an injury that was thought to be more serious than it ended up being, and the typical Packers rotation, Watson rotated quite a bit in Week 6. His 26 route run ranked 3rd on the team in the easy 34-13 win, but there's a chance he begins to see even more usage over the next few weeks. Sadly, it was announced that Dontavian Wick's shoulder injury suffered in the game has him classified as week-to-week, which should mean that we see a healthy Christian Watson seeing a lot more usage along the perimeter. While it's unlikely that he ends up seeing a target share very close to what Jaden Reed has been commanding, Watson profiles as a fantastic option that can offer fantasy teams week-winning performances on just a handful of looks from Jordan Love. He might be a risky start due to his recent ankle and hamstring issues, but the upside here is incredible. Sell Najee Harris. It may have taken 6 weeks, but Najee Harris finally found the end zone. While fantasy managers who have been wallowing in mediocrity since drafting him back in August are likely excited, you should use this opportunity to fuel a trade to a league mate who is in desperate need for running back help. The fact is, Najee had a ton going for him in Week 6. First of all, the Raiders ranked 28th in schedule-adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position heading into last week. Secondly, the Steelers were 3.5-point favorites against a Las Vegas team circling the drain. Thirdly, Cordell Patterson was unable to suit up. And finally, Jaylen Warren logged a 35.5% snap rate in his first game back since injuring his knee back in Week 3. In the game prior to his injury, Warren had handled 44.8% of the team's snaps. Now, moving forward, the team is expecting to have all 3 backs fully healthy. And this will come before a stretch of games against the Jets and Giants, both of whom rank top 10 in running back AFPA, and then a Week 9 bye. Najee Harris could be right back in that 7 to 9 point fantasy purgatory and could remain there throughout the season when he's not scoring a touchdown. That essentially makes him a questionable week-to-week RB3, while there may be some who see him as a locked-in RB2 because of his 19-point eruption in Week 6. Test the waters and see if you can move on. Stash Trey Benson and or Kamani Vidal. 2 rookie running backs with vastly different NFL draft capitals, but with equally interesting backfield situations. Beginning in Arizona, Trey Benson saw his veteran backfield mate get his ankles taped up before losing a fumble on his last snap of the game near the end of the 3rd quarter. Granted, the team was losing 31-13 at the time, and it was Connor's first lost fumble in nearly 2 years. But regardless, all of Benson's 5 attempts came before the gaff, and he had an entire drive to himself coming out of the first half. The former Florida State Seminole was a wildly explosive collegiate back who not only ran a 4.39 40-yard dash at 216 pounds, but also finished the 2023 season ranked 4th among all draft-eligible running backs with a 54% breakaway rate. It's very likely that the team starts to rotate the 3rd round back into the offense more often to see if they can deliver a spark to an offense that has sputtered since their 41-point explosion back in Week 2. Over in Los Angeles, the 6th round selection, Kamani Vidal, got his first in-game action of the season, turning 6 opportunities into 51 total yards in Week 6. Sure, 38 of those yards came on a wheel route touchdown, but we're not going to knock someone for turning their first professional touch into a long touchdown. Vidal made his NFL debut in a week when Gus Edwards was sent to the IR, and he made the most of his limited action. This continues an efficient trend for him as he finishes final year at Troy by averaging 5.9 yards per touch for nearly 1,900 total yards. He could continue to make the most of his situation, and it's not as if J.K. Dobbins has a history of staying healthy either. Both Trey Benson and Kamani Vidal are great stabs as stashes for those looking to inject some upside into their roster depth. Drop Tyjae Spears. The idea that the Titans' backfield would be a 50-50 split in 2024 dissipated quite quickly. Right out of the gate, Tyjae Spears was outtouched 19-8 in Week 1 before an ankle sprain in Week 2 limited him to 8 touches and only 33% of the snaps. Though he did find the end zone back in Week 4, yet more bad news came on Sunday, the team's first game out of their Week 5 bye. Spears suffered a hamstring injury that officially has him listed as week-to-week with a questionable tag for Week 7. He managed just 27 yards before going down. Including his injury games, Spears has now notched a 34.4% snap rate while handling 24.8% of the team's rushing attempts and has run a route on 28.2% of the team's dropbacks. These all fall in the range from 42nd to 54th among the position, and his availability isn't helping matters. Meanwhile, Tony Pollard has been one of the only bright spots in a dysfunctional Tennessee offense. While he has gained 339 yards on 78 carries, he, rather hilariously, leads the entire team with his 16 receptions. It hasn't been pretty, but he has been the RB20 with 13.6 half PPR points per game. Even if Spears returns in Week 7 or shortly thereafter, it's hard to see how this offense is going to be able to support 2 fantasy-relevant running backs, and there's no reason for the team to cut back Pollard's usage when he's the only thing working right now. Tyjae Spears is the RB47 in expected fantasy points per game and has delivered as the RB49 in actual fantasy points per game. Let someone else pick him up and deal with this. Add Isaac Guerendo. Dynasty managers, and likely a lot of best ball squads that grabbed him at the end of drafts, rejoiced as they saw Isaac Guerendo's name pop up in the Week 6 box score. With yet more injuries plaguing the 49ers offense, Guerendo was able to come up for air out of his mostly special teams role he had been experienced over the first 4 weeks of the season. Until last week, the 4th-round rookie had logged more snaps as either a returner or in coverage on punts and kickoffs than he had on offense in any given game. But with Jordan Mason going down in the first half and only being able to log 1 more carry in the second half, Guerendo had his opportunity to squeeze into the rotation. Though 8 carries for 23 yards may have put him on our radar anyways, considering this is the 49ers offense, he did go ahead and ice the game by going 76 yards on his 9th and next to last carry. Going down the run the clock was selfless, but it also cost him his first professional touchdown and 100-yard game. 2 plays later, fullback Kyle Juszczyk would ice the game, but no matter, we're still talking about Isaac Guerendo here. If Jordan Mason ends up missing time, which seems probable for Week 7 at least, Guerendo will once again be the next man up, even if he will definitely split time with Patrick Taylor, Juszczyk, and Deebo Samuel. While Guerendo may not see a ton of third downs, there is the upside for some usage in the passing game, particularly against the Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. The rookie earned 45 targets over his final 2 years of college, earning the 4th highest yards per route run among all qualifying draft-eligible running backs and the 2nd highest receiving grade according to PFF's numbers.